You call it the triangle axiom.
I do, yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Right, so you've managed to confuse a lot of people within that argument. Weird times, buddy. Because like you weren't trying to say that all horizontals are not parallel because you can draw a cross on a piece of paper.
I was temporarily agreeing.
That wasn't the argument.
For fuck's sake.
Because some people have took it as though that is.
I'm sorry. A separate discussion. Happy to talk about that one day. What I originally suggested, and Mike knows this, Mike Jones. We agreed we'd sort of discuss the fifth postulate first. You call it the triangle at the time.
I do, yeah.
I discussed the swimming pool. Thank you, Mike. Question.
Weird times, buddy.
You don't understand.
Be quiet. Swimming pool. Thank you, Mike. Question.
You don't understand.
For fuck's sake. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mike.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn.
Thank you, Mike.
You're just on your own.
Well, that I hold to be a self-evident. You call it the triangle axiom.
I do, yeah. Because it's got just about a triangle,
So,
yeah.
The question is, why did include that axiom? You call it the triangle axiom. That postulate.
I do, yeah.
Why did you include that at all? You call it the triangle axiom.
I do, because it sort of shows that triangles have 180 degrees, right? Or the sum of two right angles.
You know? So
Later
you're
to
saying...
change to 180.
How does it show? Well, yeah, it does. I mean, you can prove that, but why did he include that? You call it the triangle axiom. If you can...
Oh, you can prove it?
Be quiet. If you can prove that triangles have... You call it the triangle. The sum of the angles is two right angles. Why would you need... For fuck's sake. I'm sorry, that's my question. You call it the triangle axiom.
You don't understand.
You call it the triangle axiom.
You don't understand.
I was temporarily agreeing. Be quiet.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn.
You know?
You're just on your own.
For fuck's sake. I'm sorry. Horizontal lines can easily not be. Just as I suggested, you just sort of get a horizontal line. That I hold to be a self-evident truth. You put two crossing lines on them, and by definition, any two lines, straight lines on a horizontal plane, are themselves horizontal. You mind? So that's the problem. You can't. Well, it's not really a problem. Yeah,
It's not a problem because there's only three straight lines. How fucking difficult can it be?
Point again is that you cannot prove it. A lot of people, you call it the triangle axiom. Millennia thought you could prove the fifth postulate. You call it the triangle axiom. The question is, do we need the enclosure axiom? Yeah, but not on the globe hypothesis. I received opinions we don't need it because postulate 1 will do the job for you. And look, Bev, I simply wanted to ask you why you think the postulate's there, and you have explained that. And you have explained that. But not on the globe hypothesis. That I hold to be a self-evident truth. I'm sorry.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn.
Be quiet.
You're just on your own.
I'll be perfectly honest. I'm sure there are better people back at the other place, the blue place, who can prove this. Who are happy to talk to you.
No logic, no wisdom, no worries.
And you have explained that.
You're just on your own.
You know.
No reason, no logic, no answers to questions.
And you have explained that.
You're just on your own.
You know. That I hold to be a self-evident.
It's a self-evident truth of reality that all triangles, in reality, have 180 or the sum of two right angles.
Be quiet. But not on the globe. Well, it's an assumption. For fuck's sake.
It's not an assumption, is it?
Sorry. For Euclid, it was an assumption because he knew he couldn't prove it. There was a huge debate which went on for centuries. You call it the triangle axiom.
What, that you couldn't prove that triangles have 180
They tried.
degrees?
They thought there was a question: is the fifth postulate? You call it the triangle axiom. Triangle axiom. Is it self-evident or not? A huge debate.
Weird times, buddy.
You know.
Weird times, buddy. You've brought an argument into a group of people that aren't ready for it.
Be quiet. You cannot. Euclidean geometry. You call it the triangle axiom. It does not follow. It doesn't work. But not on the globe. I don't need it as an assumption because we can prove it. You can prove it from the first postulate. For fuck's sake. Horizontal lines can easily not be. You can just, as I suggested, you just sort of get a horizontal plane, right? Thank you, Mike. You put two crossing lines on them, and by definition, any two lines, straight lines on a horizontal plane, are themselves horizontal. For fuck's sake, I'm sorry.
You don't understand.
That I hold to be a self-evident truth. For fuck's
You
sake.
don't understand.
If you could prove it, it wouldn't be a postulate,
It's
would it?
not my problem if you don't want to learn. You're just on your own.
You call it the triangle axiom.
I do, yeah, because he's got
Yeah.
just about a triangle,
No,
yeah.
the question is, why did Euclid include that axiom? You call it the triangle, that postulate or axiom. Why did he include that at all? Thank you, Mike.
Because it sort of shows that triangles have 180 degrees, right? Or the sum of two right angles.
But not on the globe. So
Change
you're
it,
saying,
change it.
for fuck's sake, how does it show?
sorry,
How does it show? Well, yeah, it does. I mean, you can prove that, but why did he include that? Be quiet. If you can
Oh, you can prove it.
you call it the triangle axiom. If you can prove that triangles have the sum of the angles is two right angles, why would you need postulate? That's my question. I will not verbally disagree with it. What goes on in my own head is my own business. I do not believe that. Be quiet.
You don't understand.
You call it the triangle axiom. For fuck's sake, I'm sorry.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn. You're just
Quiet.
on your own.
Yourself, don't tell me to be quiet.
You have a horizontal plane, and any straight line not
drawn
not
it
on the globe
must
itself be horizontal. That I hold to be a self-evident truth. Yeah, not on the globe hypothesis. I was temporarily agreeing.
Right, so you've managed to confuse a lot of people within that argument.
I was temporarily agreeing.
Because like you weren't trying to say that all horizontals are not parallel because you can draw
Not on the
a cross
globe.
on a piece of paper, are you?
Thank you, Mike.
That wasn't the argument.
Not on the globe.
Because some
Let the
people have took it
discussion
as though that is.
For fuck's sake. Separate discussion. Happy to talk about that one day.
Yourself, don't tell me to be quiet.
Point again is that you cannot prove it. A lot of people, you call it the triangle axiom. Centuries, millennia, thought you could prove the fifth postulate. You call it the triangle axiom from the preceding thought. Be quiet. I was temporarily agreeing. Not on the globe.
Don't understand.
You call it the triangle axiom. Not on the globe.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn.
Be
You're
quiet.
just on your own.
That I hold to be a self-evident truth. For fuck's sake, I'm sorry.
No reason, no logic, no
Be quiet.
wisdom, no worries.
And you have explained that.
You're just on your own.
Not on the globe, you know.
No reason, no logic, no
quiet.
answers to a question.
And you have explained that.
You're just on your own.
Betty, do you believe the water surface is a horizontal plane of reference?
It's a horizontal plane, possibly. Not on the globe. Let's assume
Thank you.
the surface of either swimming pool is a horizontal plane. A horizontal plane of reference, right? Let's assume
Thank you.
the surface of either swimming pool establishes a horizontal plane of reference. It's not a problem. Yeah,
It's not a problem because there's only three straight lines. How fucking difficult can it be? And we are live. Welcome everyone. It is Free for All Friday. As always, if you're after anything, type it in the chat. Preferably come into Discord. What's your opinion on whatever it is? It's Free for All Friday. Anybody got any topics?
Yes.
Go, jolly good.
Yes.
It's a good
And you
start.
could tell me to shut up if you want. But I was just wondering, since it's Free for All Friday, that we're getting fairly close to April. I know you talked about April before. So for anyone who's just happened to be popping in and listening, do you want to talk anything about like plans? Like where are you going? What are you doing? What's the point of, how might you be departing from what you've done in the past, any of that stuff? Or you could say, no, I don't want to talk about it right now. And then we could pick somebody
Well, I
else.
don't know. I guess everybody sort of knows that. Well, The purpose of me coming here was, you know, I came here with a mission to understand certain things, and within this arena, I think I've got it nailed down. So I don't think there's anything need to be learned from this arena anymore. So I'm going to wrap this up, but then move on to do something else, but use what I have learned to sort out arguments within this arena. I think that's what's missing, is the argument. So I will still be making videos about this sort of thing, but they will be smaller videos, and the conversations that we have will move out of this fucking ridiculous shape argument. I've had enough of talking with people that haven't got a clue about any geometric reasoning.
Yeah, we're still in it for the conversation, though, right? I mean,
Oh, absolutely, yes.
That's the thing. Is anyone that, I think where we're going is anyone that thinks that they can have a discussion and put forth an argument, an actual argument from logic and reason, understanding first principles, those kinds of things. That's open for business.
Yeah, that's this place, Discord, on the level. This is a place where people come to have discussions, and we are going to be carrying on with the learning. They're going heavy on the learning. Try learning will be this place, and the idea will be that anything positive, if you can give anything positive to this, then you're welcome. Anybody can come in, have a discussion about anything, as long as it's positive. Doing away with the negative, I can't. It doesn't produce anything, and you just go round and round and round in circles. So the positive nature will be pushing forwards, finding proofs, arguments for discussion. Now, as we know, we've gone over the logic and the reasoning and philosophy and all of that. There are certain things that there are no answers for. We know that. That's the sort of stuff we're interested in discussing. But just because one person thinks one thing and somebody else thinks something else, there's no reason for anybody to be calling anybody names or anything because of that. Intelligent adult discussion with
and then
no name calling. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. And then in the end, this thing we've called epohe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not we've called, that is called epohe, which is I don't know, and I'm okay not knowing. It's almost the same thing as agree to disagree, maybe. Similar to that, possibly.
Yeah, the idea is to replace dogma with epohe. Now, it will be uncomfortable for people to realise that dogma is just that, dogma. There's nothing to back it, and a lot of people find it really tricky to talk about those things that could possibly be dogma.
Perhaps an explanation of what epohe is.
Yeah. Well, we can certainly discuss what the word means, but it's really an experience. Yeah, Bev will get it up. I can read it if you want, Bev.
You can read it for now, and I'll just I'll get it up on the screen.
Okay. Well, I'll grab Merriam-Webster because that's the first thing that pops up for me. So epohe is suspension of judgment. In ancient skepticism, the act of refraining from any conclusion or against anything as the decisive step for the attainment of ataraxia. Now, that's another word. We've gone through these words before. But in essence, suspension of judgment, meaning you have a conversation, maybe you come to a consensus or agreement, let's say, or a proof, let's say, or maybe you don't. And if you don't, epohe, suspension of judgment.
I think that's one of the most important words of the ancients. Quite amazing, actually.
Yeah, I agree. To me, that's civilization, right? Because if you can't get to Epohe, to me, I think you end up wanting to kill people, right? You end up wanting to do violence potentially. So we don't want that.
Want
Of
me to
course,
have a
we're
read
gonna.
of this one?
Yeah,
This one is from Wikipedia, the trusted
Mm,
source of all
trusted
of
word.
these sort of things. So I'll just read what it says. In Hellenistic philosophy, epoche is suspension of judgment, but also is withholding of assent. Withholding of assent is a Socrates term, Plato. Epoche plays an important role in Pyrrhonism, the skeptical philosophy named after Pyrrho. The Pyrrhonists developed the concept of epoche to describe the state where all judgments about non-evident matters are suspended to induce a state of ataraxia, freedom from worry and anxiety. So the idea of epoche is to bring around a state of ataraxia, which is a freedom from worry and anxiety. That's not a bad thing, right?
That is not a bad thing.
And it's pretty
As a matter of
obvious
fact-
in these arenas that we're in. There's a lot of that goes around. That it induces this hatred of others when you're not in that state. If you're in that state, then conversations are good.
But even
Also-
Wikipedia says that this is about not evident things. So withholding judgment because of something like 2 + 2 = 4. It was not in the menu in ancient times. So we are not talking about 2 + 2 = 4 or
Yeah.
something like that.
Or 1 + 1 = 2, something like that. Good point. Good point, Paper. Essie, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, yeah, uncertainty, and the other stuff is what causes stress. So if you go into epohe, right? In other words, don't worry about the things you know you can't resolve, you can't possibly know about, type deal.
It says epoche is a state of the intellect on account of which we neither deny nor affirm anything. I'm not too sure that's correct.
It's like you're in the middle. You're not thinking about it. You're not. Yeah.
It's all matters that are dogmatic, right? If you've approved things to yourself, then you do not need to withhold judgment on those things because you hold a proof, right? The things that are self-evident, you don't need to withhold judgment on those sort of things. This is, as we've been learning through philosophy, you only philosophize on things that are beyond knowledge. That's where dogma comes in. The things that are beyond what we know. Things perhaps that we cannot know for sure.
Oh, yeah, I can think of examples, definitely.
Yeah, there's loads of stuff here. The Fantasia.
This was all great
Yeah.
stuff. Probably need to go over this every now and then.
I would think so, yes. I think as we start going over this sort of stuff, these are the short videos that we could do to sort out, the need for this and how it can actually help you within daily life, because this has helped me a lot. A lot of people have said a lot of things about me, and I can let it go. It doesn't affect me because I know it doesn't bother me. Now, what other people think of me because of those things that have been said about me, again, that doesn't affect me. I can't let that affect me, because that has obviously happened. We have to start crawling it back and let people know. I've got a pretty hard job actually on my hands, trying to convince people of the obvious truths that we've been talking all along, because a lot of people have said a lot of things.
Yeah, and I personally think adopting this kind of philosophy, if you will, I don't know if you what you'd call it, but this idea also allows you uh, to, let's say, not jump down someone's throat in a discussion, which, especially in this arena, seems to be the norm more than not. Right? Don't have the conversation, just jump down someone's throat. If you can adopt some epohe, some ataraxia, sort of stops you from going down that road, I think, a little bit.
Oh, I don't know. Did we ever go over this? I guess I've gone over the... Have you heard of Agrippa? Did we ever go over that? Agrippa?
Briefly, yes.
Agrippa the skeptic.
Yeah.
Sextus, I like that. That's one of the best names, that, right? Sounds like a Monty Python. Sextus Empiricus described these modes or tropes in Outlines of Pyrrhonism, attributing them to the more recent skeptics. The 5 modes of Agrippa, also known as the 5 tropes of Agrippa. Dissent. 1. Dissent. The uncertainty demonstrated by the differences of opinion among philosophers and people in general. The uncertainty demonstrated by differences of opinions amongst philosophers. Who are the philosophers modern day? Who are they? What is the modern day philosopher?
No one knows, I don't think.
Yeah, are there any? Like, what is a philosopher? I think I would consider the philosophers are the people that wonder about things and discuss them. So
Yes.
what it's saying is, where there's a mode of a disagreement, just hold. That's called dissent. So that's when you should be employing epohe, when there's a lot of people disagreeing around you. And if you've been in an arena where everybody disagrees with everybody for 6 or 7 years, it might be a good time to sort of release that dogma and grab a bit of epohe.
Maybe.
For that one, right? Progress ad infinitum. All proofs rest on matters themselves in need of proof, and so on to infinity, i.e. the regress argument. So any argument that develops on the regress or to infinity, then, yeah, you're never going to know. You can never get to infinity. You've never been to infinity, and neither is anybody else. Chuck a bit of epohe in there. You're never going to know. It's pretty easy, that one, isn't it? Number 3, relation. All things are changed as their relations become changed, or as we look upon them from different points of view.
This is good.
What?
There's got to be a lot of epohe, right, going on here.
Mhm.
If there's different points of view on something, epohe, that's your answer. Assumption. The truth asserted is based on an unsupported assumption. Well, you know when they decided to change self-evident truths to assumptions? Do you think that's what they're talking about here? like we had earlier today, some guy said that the laws of communication, i.e., the laws of logic, were just assumed. Epohe. Yay or nay? What do you reckon? Assumption.
An assumption?
Yeah.
You might as well go into epohe before you do that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, do you reckon
That's the reason.
axioms are assumptions, though?
That's a joke. That must be a joke, right? An axiom being an assumption?
No.
That's what certain people say.
It is assumption, but it doesn't deny that this is axiom. So he's saying about assumption that is unsupported. So this is this kind of assumption, because in logic normally you are making assumption. It is your first premise, and if this premise is axiomatic, it means that assumption is self-evident. But he is talking, Agrippa is talking about unsupported. Just begging the question, in other words.
What do you mean an axiomatic assumption?
Assumption is something that you assume to start with.
If.
Yeah, but
Yes.
you said an axiomatic assumption.
It means that your assumption is an axiom.
Within geometry, right?
It means, yes, it means that your assumption is not unsupported. This is a solid assumption.
Doesn't sound right to me, but okay.
You can make assumptions rightfully or wrongly. So making unsupported assumption makes proof invalid.
It's like saying a factual assumption.
Yes. Or actual, or let's say true. If an assumption is a truth, it means that this assumption is solid. It still is assumption.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah, the axioms within geometry are supported within geometry, right? You couldn't have the entirety of geometry if you didn't have the axioms. So those axioms within geometry are supported, right? They would be self-evident axioms, right?
Yeah, self-evident. Yeah,
right. But
not
it is still classed as an assumption, but it's a supported assumption.
Yes, but he is saying about the truth asserted is based on an unsupported assumption.
Yeah.
So this is just
if I assume
bold assumption or just naked assumption without any support. So just something to say something. If we live on the globe, then this assumption is unsupported. But if the whole is greater than part, then our assumption is in fact an axiom. So this is not just mere assumption.
Yeah, so the assumption comes first, right? You can't say you have an axiomatic assumption, can you? I don't know. Maybe I'm not getting it.
You can make assumption in proof, and you have to, but the quality of this assumption makes proof valid or invalid. So if your assumption is true or axiomatic or common notion, then your assumption is solid, is supported.
Anyways, it's a minor detail. I guess we could move on.
Yes.
Okay, and finally, number 5, Circularity. The truth asserted involves a circularity of proofs. There's a few of them. Epoche is the answer. If you find any of these, you obviously cannot find a truth, right? There's no way of you acquiring a truth out of any of these types of, what's it called? Modes? Tropes? Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit hard to say, isn't it?
5 ways, let's say.
Yeah. 5 ways that you will probably be better releasing any dogma. You can't get answers from these necessarily. You could probably get a lot of data, information that you could probably say one way or the other, but for one argument, no. And for anyone that you still, I mean, like that first one there, it says that the uncertainty demonstrated by the differences of opinion amongst philosophers and people in general. So if you're ever anywhere and there's a lot of differing opinion for years and years on end, you might just be better saying, epoche. You're never going to find an answer. If all of the geniuses in an area have been going backwards and forwards and not being able to come to any conclusion for years, over and over, then are you going to be the one to sort that out? I don't think it possibly.
Kind of like if you ask the question, what happens after you die?
Well, that would be...
Well, there's an
which one?
epoche, if there
Yeah.
ever was one.
Well, what would happen then? And which one of those does it fit into?
I'm not sure. Does it fit into any one of them?
I would say relation. You've got to have a different point of view. You've got to be looking at it from the other side of death before you'd be able to know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in that sense, yeah.
You'll never know. Certain you never know. So it's not really worth trying to come up with arguments for what would happen.
Yeah, it's a good example, I would say.
And progress ad infinitum is also good. For example, someone is trying to convince you that, for example, this double slit experiment that supposedly proves something is based on photons, that matter has to go. So the light is matter, and then you have to, in fact, to prove that light is photons. So you have to prove existence of photons, and then you have to prove that photons are that kind of particles that they are doing so and so, and you are going to ad infinitum because you have load of things to prove before you can speak about this, for example, experiment. So when you can hear someone that is trying to explain you with that progress, so you can say, okay, buddy, maybe another time.
Where was this one? Anadenimus. There's quite a few of them. Has he got his 10? Yeah, he got 10. 10 modes of Anadenimus. He calls this one, guys, calls it the reasons for doubt, given in the form of the 10 tropes, also known as the 10 modes. The 10 tropes of number 1. Different animals manifest different impressions. similar differences are seen among individual people. That's a good one. Oh, I will get on to a flat fact here. Yeah. Since we were on words, Orwell, 2 + 2 = 5. Yeah, we've been over that. Ministry of Truth. What is a dictionary word that means the same as doublethink? Is there one? Contradiction, I think.
Yes, contradiction. You can-
Or diletheism.
yes, similar. Yes, because double
Diletheism's good word.
means that you are holding two different positions on the same matter.
And
Oh,
diletheism is holding two truths.
Two truths.
So doublethink, I suppose. It was Brenda that taught us about diletheism. Thank you, Brenda. Not just taught us about it, brought the word into it, but also showed us diletheism outright. And I've been ever seeing it ever since. It's like one of those ones I've never seen one of them cars, and then you start seeing them all over the place. Well, diletheism's just like that. You'll see it in people everywhere, and you want to be able to see it in yourself, really. You need to be able to keep a check on yourself for that. It says here, there's these, even for the same person, sense-given data are self-contradictory. Sense-given data are self-contradictory. That's for yourself. Wow. Sense data vary from time to time with physical changes, and self data vary according to local relations. I guess this could be seen as sight sense. Mainly, I would say this came from the divided line. And for vision, you can only trust within the visible realm. But it's talking about senses, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But all sorts of senses. But the main one would obviously be sight.
I would say that he is talking about this sense data, that this is uncertain for our senses.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Like, there's reasons to doubt. These are reasons for epoche to suspend judgment. Just because you see something doesn't mean that you should take it on that that's the truth. You should still withhold judgment.
Yes, I would say that good example is this curved line, which seems to be straight and was presented by this guy Emerald, Ruhif, and
Bob.
and others. So they were straightening a curved line. So they were zooming in a curved line, and then when this line looked as straight, they say, you see, this is straight line, not curved. So this is that kind of presentation should or could end with our epoche, so that we don't believe, in fact, what the guy is saying about this line. So we are suspending our judgment.
Okay, what about this one? This is the next one. 6 and 7. Objects are known only indirectly through the medium of air, moisture, and I don't know what that C is there. And are in a condition of perpetual change in colour, temperature, size, and motion. Objects are known only indirectly through the medium of air, moisture, and in a condition of perpetual change in colour, temperature, size, and motion. What could that possibly be?
The hell is he talking about?
I would say all of the objects in the sky that you cannot touch. Everything that you see. Everything that you look at through air. Namely the horizon, right? That would be one of the main things, but you've got other things like stars, the moon, the sun. Everything like that.
Is that what he means?
Epoche, I would say so. What else do you think it would be? Objects are known only indirectly through the medium of air, moisture, and I don't know what that is. C.
I would disagree with this word only. So, because it means that all objects are uncertain to our senses, always.
Yeah, until you can actually touch them, use something else, right? Anything that you can only see through that, I would say.
Yes, but if you have, for example, object just before your eyes, it doesn't mean that you have to have uncertainty about that.
No,
about
because
that
you can
object.
touch it. You can measure it. You can do all sorts of other things with it. But you can't do that with objects like the horizon. That's
Yes, I
only
agree.
through the
Agree.
medium, right? The rest of it, you can... If there's a tree over there, you could walk to the tree. You know it would be a tree. That wouldn't be something that is only indirectly through the medium of air. Because you can actually go and touch it, chop it down, do all sorts of stuff with it. But the horizon would definitely fit that bill, right? There's no other way of dealing with the
Yes.
horizon than to look at
I
it.
agree, yes, because horizon is moving with you, so you cannot go to the horizon.
I love this. What's this called, by the way? The 10 what?
This is the 10 modes of... How do you spell that? Can you see that?
Enesidemus.
Enesidemus.
Ooh.
Enesidemus.
He was part of this Pyrrhonism.
This is really
age.
good.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like this.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know why we're doing it on a Friday.
I don't know either.
Free
but
for all Friday, everyone.
for all
If you want to
Friday.
stop us from talking about logic and shit like that.
Yeah. Come up with something else.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, 8. All perceptions are relative and interact one upon another.
That's a good one.
Mm.
And remember, this is all you should withhold judgment or do not give assent.
Yeah,
with these things.
it's just a reason
When
for
these
doubt.
things are in play. Yeah.
Right, here we go. And number 9, our impressions become less deep by repetition and custom. Maybe
That's the opposite.
This is a term thing here, isn't it? What less deep?
Yeah.
What's deep mean?
Entrenched, engraved. It sounds like the opposite of what it should be.
For example, smell. Your nose is accustomed for the same smell, so you cannot feel.
I suppose, yeah.
So you are not so much sensitive for something when you are looking at it for a long time. So
Yeah.
first impression is stronger, and then you are losing your let's say sensibility.
Yeah, like coming out of the
I think.
dark into the light.
Yes, for example, yes.
Yeah.
Or I was looking at it as, when Paper was saying that, as the proverbial frog in the water doesn't know it's boiling because it becomes accustomed
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the water.
Boiling the frog.
Boiling the frog, yeah. Yeah.
Can you read that one again? Because Paper might be onto something here.
Okay.
I looked at it differently.
Our impressions become less deep by repetition and custom. I guess you become accustomed to it
Yes.
through.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
That's a good one. Like,
Paper's got it right there. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
initial feeling that one gets.
Yes,
as
yes,
well.
initial.
The ones.
First. Yes. So more
like envision somebody going to battle, seeing death for the first time, and then as the war progresses, right, you get
Yes.
numb to it. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
that kind of a deal. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, on the last one.
Let me just add sorry, I just wanted to add one point to that, because what Essie said is absolutely valid. So again, you'd want to withhold judgment if you're feeling like I'm too, I'm battle fatigued. I'm not going to be objective here, so I can't make a judgment. Yeah, that's good.
I'm more overwhelmed. Yeah, they used to call that the 1,000-mile stare. When soldiers used to come back and they would just look into nowhere, like with wide eyes, like kind of, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Bev.
No problem. This is a good one. All people are brought up with different beliefs under different laws and social conditions. All people are brought up with different beliefs under different laws and social conditions. Everyone's different.
Right,
treat everyone as an individual.
Yeah.
But I don't know why that would be a disbelief, epoche.
That would be a fact.
It's but it's understanding these things is what you should, is why you should have epoche. So you should have epoche because you understand that all people are brought up with different beliefs under different laws and social conditions.
Yeah,
so
you should know that somebody else would not be the same as you.
Right.
Yeah. That it's judgment, isn't it, as well? You know.
Yeah.
Judging someone by their appearance or.
All reasons for skeptical, right? To be skeptical or to doubt. I mean, these are 10 things that you should be doubting. Now, would somebody get upset were you to doubt them if they were saying any of these sort of things? Somebody making you want to believe them. And this one says that you should doubt them. Should take these into epoche.
I would say if they're evangelistic, let's say, if they're very passionate about their religion, beliefs, those kinds of things, right?
If they wanted to push those upon you.
Yeah, then they would get very upset.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Oh, yeah. I can guarantee you that.
There's loads of stuff. We are going to have to go over this. Probably a bit heavy for us to go over, but I'm going to leave this page on. Yeah.
Well, I think it does go back to. I mean, I prompted this discussion by asking you that thing. I would say that this is an example of where we're going. So.
But this is Anasidemus is going too far, because he says there is therefore no absolute knowledge. So it is, for me, it is too far, because it's okay if you are doubting in things that are worth adopting, but some
Mm.
things are certain, so you
Mm.
shouldn't adopt them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, wasn't that the whole thing about the skeptics?
Yes.
I mean, they had some really good stuff, and then as paper said, they went too far. This is why I go back to my mentor that I talk about. Says take what you like and leave the rest. It's like, yeah, can't go that far with you, dude. Sorry.
Yeah, this just says Anaxagoras argues that truth varies infinitely under circumstances whose relative weight cannot be accurately gauged. There is, therefore, no absolute knowledge, for everyone has different perceptions and further arranges and groups data in methods peculiar to themselves. So the sum total is a quantity with a purely subjective validity. Now that is worth taking in mind, right? Because
Hmm.
I do believe there are people that are like that, right? And that says that whose relative weight cannot be accurately gauged. Well, if you are somebody who doesn't have logic, then you're never going to be accurately gauging anything, and therefore you're never going to come to a truth. And these are for individual people, I'm guessing. So if you were to go under these rules for yourself, then you could deem that nobody could find any truth.
Yeah, so I would say that he was proponent of purely subjective truth. So
Yeah, he might
In
have
oppo-
believed some strange things that only he believed in order to end up with these rules.
yeah, so saying, for example, that 2 + 2 = 4, this is subjective true. It is true for me, but for someone
yeah,
else, maybe not.
yeah, Orwell over there says it's 5. And he's adamant that it is.
Oh, they did a film on it
Yeah.
and a book.
Yeah, we'll have to get into that a bit more. These 5 are a little bit better. They make sense. Although some of the other ones might make sense as well to certain parts of it. But you take what you want out of all of this sort of stuff. That's what makes the person. It's what makes the argument. Well, that's what makes the discussion. That's why discussion between peoples is a good thing to have. You'd never know
Absolutely.
about any of these things otherwise. Everybody's different. That's what the conversation's for. We did have a really interesting conversation today. And I'm thinking there's going to be a lot more conversations like that, but I don't know whether... I think one of the skills that we're going to have to go over with the through the trivium is rhetoric and the ability to converse, get your point across. If you keep your proofs or what to yourself and have no ability to express them, then it becomes really hard to communicate them to other people. You need to find a way to get these thoughts out. And a lot of places will shut you down for that conversation. Well, I don't want to do that. I believe a discussion should be able to be had with anyone. I mean, some topics, obviously, modern day times, modern day topics, perhaps not the for YouTube and all of that, for Discord. But there are obviously things that we can discuss and we should discuss in an adult way. That's what we're hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. Now, can we sort something out in the YouTube chat? Are we doing this? Ace Trades has come to. Seems to be talking about something.
It's not only the YouTube chat. Is it not? We got something in Discord as well.
Oh, yes. This is a blast from the past, Bev.
Oh, Mateus, the walking
Uh-huh.
witness. Is that?
He came in pretending he'd never been here before and that he didn't know any of us.
Oh,
Do you want to come into VC? It's free for all Friday.
he's blocking
Absolutely
people.
not.
I doubt it.
No?
Yeah, no, he's not a talker, he's a troller.
Mm-hmm. Text chat trolling.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I know, but a long time. He's blocked?
Well, this is the thing. It's a long-term thing, and it's the same in the YouTube. Ace Trades
Yeah.
is the same thing. So this is, I mean, for those of you who are in the live stream, there's been things that have happened in the last week that have just been all like one thing after the other. There's no such thing as coincidence. The timing is uncanny of the appearance of all of these people that have come in. So
And as the great Rakia used to say, who's trolling who?
yeah.
Who's trolling who?
But if anybody wants to talk about that or hear the full story, pop in the Discord VC and just, ask some questions.
Ace Trades, do you want to come and talk about your beliefs? I try and have as few beliefs as possible. That's why I like Epoche. You can have your knowledge, that's fine. But I think beliefs are personal. Nobody can tell anybody what their beliefs are. There you go, flat fact. I'm with you. There are obviously some things that we have to have belief of. And I do believe that things that you know, you still have a belief that you know it because you do actually know it. Belief comes with knowledge. You'd be silly to not believe that you know something when you actually know something. But if anybody wants to come and have a discussion about beliefs, like Ace seems to do, it's nothing to argue with anybody about. But YouTube's text chat, it is free for all Friday. Is that what all of the conversation was about, or was it something to do with Timothy, or is he gone?
Timothy and Ace were having a little go at each other again. I asked them not to do that in our live chat. So I think Timothy went off to argue with the atheists, I guess. I don't know. Not sure.
Is that where Ace came in from? Because I think that's what
Possibly.
Timothy and Ace seems to have a long time relationship.
Feud. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't really know. I've never really dealt with YouTube text because as I am, prefer to talk, and we're a lot in Discord most of the time. That's where we do most of our stuff. So I don't know a lot of people in the YouTube text community. Ace is a belief talker. There's a lot of people that want to argue about things that, let's say, there is no sufficient cause to argue. Why would somebody want to make an argument or a discussion about belief? Good day, Big Pine, new one. Never seen Big Pine before. That's nice. Both Flat Fact and Ace Trade saying hi to Big Pine. Welcome. We did have a conversation with a guy who came in today, a new guy. I think Timothy might have sent him over. Very interesting. And I'm thinking that there's going to be a lot of discussion that comes into it now that has been learnt through text conversation. I prefer not to talk through text conversations because they do end up being a circular arguments going round and round. At the moment, let's say aporia is reached, it's easy for people to backtrack and not reply to something completely different. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know a lot of people, so I don't know. Ace.
Why
Timothy's
is,
been around a lot. Go on.
Yeah, why is Ace saying that? I mean, why is he thinking we're saying that it's not a very useful word?
I don't know. I think Ace Trade seems to be very argumentative, but only in the text chat. Come on in, Ace. Let's see. Pick a conversation. Pick something that you want to be talking about.
Yeah, nobody said that belief isn't a useful word.
It's talking to Flat Fact. Flat Fact's pretty much like me, I think. We try to do away with belief. Go with what we know, and that's what we talk about. It's not worth talking about something that you only have a belief in because the conversation is very short.
Do you have a belief in, Bev?
Pardon?
What do you have a belief in?
I have a belief in knowledge for the good.
But that's what you believe, it's not what you know, correct?
Yeah.
So you only believe it, you don't know it, you just believe it, yeah?
I believe knowledge is gained for the good. Yes.
I would. Are you kind of saying that knowledge is there for the good?
For the good, yes. I believe, I believe knowledge is gained for the good, or I believe my knowledge is gained for the good. Can't speak for anyone else.
Can we agree that knowledge itself, readily available, is what it is for the good of humanity?
Yeah, if you have knowledge, then you are quite readily available to believe that you know that thing.
That would be intelligence, because the intel that you received therefore creates your intelligence. So to know something is to knowledge is more important than intelligence, isn't it? Because you know for a fact you were there.
Intelligence is knowledge, isn't it? It's the same thing.
No, but it can't be. But intel means that you get second hand. So that's what intel is, unless you did it yourself. So therefore the knowledge is accumulated from intel, but you didn't prove it, you didn't know it yourself. So yes and no.
I don't know, you're answering your own question.
No,
if you personally know something, right, you are quite you have the ability to believe that you know it.
No, you were there. You saw the guy pull the trigger. You don't believe he pulled the trigger. You know he pulled the trigger. Therefore, the knowledge says that he pulled the trigger. You didn't believe it, did you?
Well, could you not believe that you know?
Unless you were unsure.
So could you have a knowledge of something but no belief of the knowledge?
But you knew the knowledge first, so therefore the belief doesn't come after the knowledge, becomes first, and then you proof it, therefore it becomes the knowledge. So you start with belief. Most people don't even go past that. So, but they all say that they are intelligent and have the knowledge, yet for they're still stuck on the belief. You know, like believing in God and stuff like that. That's just a belief. It's not knowledge, is it?
Yeah, but if you do have a knowledge, then
And you have no.
you have the belief that you have the knowledge also.
You don't have belief. You have the knowledge. You have the knowledge. You don't believe that you have the knowledge. You know you have the knowledge. I believe he was there at the time. Therefore, I do not know he was there at the time. Correct? I never saw it. I believe I heard, but therefore I don't know. So
Well,
I don't
Well, but
have
you're
the
talking
knowledge.
about something from the senses, like we've just been over.
Oh, I just joined. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, well, we have just been over these sort of things. So I've just put in the. Did I put it in the? No.
No, it's good to know that you've got a normal humane side, because I'm just getting to know you, mate. So happy days.
It's good to know that you have a humane side. That's
No, as in like you know, you speak to a person once and then you get a first impression, but it's good to speak to people a bit more and a bit more to get to know them a bit more, and don't always go on the first impression, you know.
Well, the first impression. This is the first impression, or first impression from the other day.
Yeah, a revised. You know, that was first draft, and this is just getting to know the room, because, like I was saying, it's nice to be in a room full of more familiar people, because there isn't a different style of English. It's just English, you know. It's not, you know what I mean. Different things like that when people start using, you know, just words that aren't sort of general. But anyway, it's nice to be in a normal
Yeah, you sound
environment.
South African.
Yes, Madhu. Yes.
Yeah, I
I
thought
came
I
here in
could
the
tend to.
90s.
Have you? Have
Yeah,
you
really.
moved to the UK then?
Yeah, I came here in in '94 with apartheid sort of finished off and Mandela got in power, and the the exchange rate was just fucking getting ridiculous. It was the sensations were there, so the best thing to do was actually leave South Africa. My parents brought me over here, so the best thing to do was leave South Africa at that point there while your money was worth anything. And nowadays, you're 6 times poorer than you were in the 1994. In relation to trying to get out of South Africa, if you had R1 million in South Africa, it would get you 4-1. But then nowadays, and recently in the last few years, it's been like up to 24-1. So you can imagine that you didn't have as much money as you thought.
You see in the chat, I've just put the divided line. You were going on about knowledge and intelligence or intellection, was it? That's at the highest form. Intellection within the divided line. The realm of forms. The intelligible realm.
Realm of things that can be understood.
And the visible realm is just the things that you see.
Yes, so you can create images of reality. This is not what we can understand. We cannot understand images by seeing images. But we can understand things by process of thinking.
Ace Trades is just put in the chat there, right? I don't know whether that. Oh, that's good. He puts to Godzilla. Remember we're talking about this. I have a standing offer of 1,000 bucks to anyone that can demonstrate a lie I have told in chat. So that's directly to Godzilla, a statement that he knows something.
So, Bev, you Leeds or not? I got that wrong.
Not
Where you? No, whereabouts are you in the country, roughly?
Northwest.
Man, yeah, Leeds, Manchester.
No.
What do you call Northwest?
Liverpool, Southport, Preston, Wigan.
It's not that much further than Manchester, really, is it?
Well, Manchester, yeah, but Leeds is on the other side of the Pennines, mate.
Yeah, but for me, it's 30 miles, 50 miles isn't that much, but I don't know the numbers. But I thought Leeds was, yeah, it might be the other side of the Pennines, but distance-wise, you're not that far out. But you're on the top, yeah, northwest, like you said. But the other guy was saying like Leeds was like east, but I guess it's east of that area, but it's not really sort of east of the country, I guess, northeast as such.
Do you not think?
Don't know. I mean, you take the general width of the UK and you compare it, you would probably say like something like Humberside or what is Humberside? That area there is northeast, isn't it?
I wouldn't know. Because I'm confined to the northwest, unfortunately. Well,
yeah, Hull. I was talking about Hull. Sorry, Shithole.
That is on the east.
Yeah. The old monkey hangers and all that, Was the Hartlepool story I was told.
I wouldn't know.
There's some beaches. Oh, I'm trying to remember. There's some beaches. Liverpool, right? Beaches, tunnels.
Liverpool beach is wonderful.
There's some tunnels. Westermere tunnels or something. Westernholme tunnels. There's some tunnels that got up on the coast there, in that area there. Liverpool, I think it is. There's some tunnels. Doesn't ring a bell, no?
No.
So there was a load of demolition work done on the coasts of Liverpool, just off the public sort of path, if you could say. And they found just bricks and rubble, and almost like they decimated a town, and they just left the rubble there just for all in view. But no one really sort of took two thoughts to it. But there was some loads of tunnels, people going underground, that sort of area there, smuggling, contraband. I don't know.
They do have the Mersey tunnel. Two of them.
What's that?
The tunnel under the Mersey.
Yeah, so I'm in there in the 50s, something, spent a few years there, and then just basically just filling up these tunnels with fucking rubble and shit to stop public access.
Oh no, you still get access to these tunnels. We drive under them when I go and get me young lad. Well, not young one, old lad. Can I? How long have you been in this arena? Let's say realm. You've been in this particular conversation, let's say, because we're in a strange area of the internet here, aren't we?
Yeah. I got someone sent me a message on YouTube and just said, "Oh, you should check out Discord." And I found a way to get on Discord and just kind of be about 2 years on Discord.
Okay, and then in Discord, have you been in the gaming channels, or have you been, let's say, what we call modern day debate channels?
Yeah, Gems. I've was Gems in once, Geo, and I was at Tartaria one, and Gems, Tartaria, and this one.
So for like 2
That's about it.
years. 2 years you've been in discussion. Can I run you through a thing that I think I took snacks through this the other day. I don't know whether you were here or not. Can you see in the live chat there?
I'll have a look now.
Do you know about cognitive dissonance? Have you ever heard of that?
You see, do I know about it? I understand what it is, and it's the you don't want to change from what you believe in, that sort of thing. That's my first answer. The second answer is when you have cognitive skills, these are motor skills, fine motor skills, and dissonance is when you play two notes that don't go together, or the unresolution. And
so
it's the bit before
the cognitive part. That's occurring. The dissonance is occurring cognitively in your mind, right? Now, do you think you hold any of these cognitive dissonances?
Think about the word. Do I hold? Okay, hon. So I'm going to read these words. Yeah. Do you imagine the cardinal directions of north, south, east, and west are lines at right angles to each other?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
How would you imagine straight lines? How could
No.
you imagine straight?
No. Question 2.
Okay. How many? That's correct. Yeah. How many of the two straight lines do you imagine are circles? I don't imagine there are circles because I'm looking at them from one direction.
Okay, so that would be
Now,
none.
do you know what? The arrows are shaped to a vanishing point, and they could be facing outwards. They could be curving outwards. So because I'm looking at it from one direction, I don't know if I'm seeing a circle because I'm looking at it from one direction.
Okay, so let's go back to question 1 then. Do you imagine the cardinal directions of north, south, and east and west are lines at right angles to each other?
I imagine they are, yes.
Okay, then question 2. How many of the two straight lines do you imagine are actually circles?
No. It doesn't say actually. It just says imagine.
Okay, go on then.
So, if I wanted to imagine, I could imagine.
How many do you imagine? Like in reality, north, south, and east and west.
No. It's answering the question. The question asks, how many of the two straight lines, how many of the two straight lines do you imagine are circles? If I could imagine that both the straight lines are part of a circle. I could imagine.
Could you?
I don't imagine.
Yeah.
No, but I could imagine, couldn't I?
Could you? I don't know. I mean, could you imagine?
But you could assume, if you wanted to, if that's imagination, that they are part of two circles.
The straight lines.
But I'm looking at two hula hoops that are crisscrossed from the side. How do I know there are circles?
How would you know that they were right angles to each other, perpendicular?
Because I can see, because I've just measured the image in front of me.
Okay, so here we go with cognitive dissonance, right? Do you imagine that straight lines at right angles to each other could be circles? And in the case of north, south, east, and west, how many of those do you actually, because they exist in reality, right? So how many of those ones that you exist in reality, north, south, east and west, do you imagine are circles?
I don't imagine in reality how. I don't imagine there are circles in reality. No, I don't need to imagine that because I'd rather use a grid set reference system than trying to join circles together because I'm just going to get diamond gaps and stuff like that. So I'm better off putting squares together and doing the legwork, you know. So I don't imagine that in reality. I don't see that in reality. Imagination is speculative, it's hypothetical. But
you put a
how many-
picture in the other day of some speakers, didn't you? I can remember.
You what?
You put some pictures in the chat the other day about some speakers.
Yeah, that was me, yeah. Like something like that. How do you imagine north, east, west, and south? Well, if you're using a gyro compass that's weighted towards the north, then you're always going to be leaning over towards the north, wherever you are. Providing that you're using your north as your reference point, your gyro compass is designed to lean to one side. If it didn't lean to one side, it would go either way. That's just how.
But we're just talking about north, south, east, and west. On that speaker thing that you gave us the other day, posted in the chat, how many of the lines north, south, east, and west would you imagine are circles on that model?
Oh, well, your east to west would obviously be part, not obviously, but in reality, they'd be part of circles, the east to west. But
Is that what you imagine reality is then?
Well, we have refraction and we have most of our light that comes from the southern direction and not the northern direction. So that's what I know. We get more light in the northern hemisphere than we do in the southern hemisphere. So that tells me that north has the priority. Does that tell me that so north to south are straight lines, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And then east to west will be a curved line.
So that would be one then. Line. You would imagine that one of the straight lines would be a circle.
No, a curved line, because we don't know the dimensions of something that we are talking about. So we can say a curved line. We see the refraction. We see this. We see that. But like I said, we see this. So anyway, like I said, I'm going off very shortly. East to west, we see curved, and north to south, we wouldn't know because we've got nothing to compare.
You realise then, with that, you can't really have right angles or perpendicular, can you?
But what do we need a right angle for? Direction, grid reference?
Question 1. Do you imagine the cardinal directions of north, south, east and west are lines at right angles to each other?
Yeah.
So you do imagine that they are lines at right angles to each other, yet you think one of the lines is a circle, therefore impossible for them to be at right angles to each other.
Well, if you've got parallel lines going around a sphere or whatever like that, they're going to have to meet up at some point. So they're going to have to join each other. So they're either going to use a square, straight lines, or you're going to use something circular, or we have a mixture of both.
Do you know the definition of parallel lines?
Yeah.
Go on,
do you know the definition of parallax?
Go on, give us your definition of parallel lines.
Parallel line.
Mm-hmm.
A parallel line runs adjacent. No, not adjacent. Yeah, adjacent next to another. It's exactly the same. It's linear. It's
linear.
Exactly the same. It's a mimic. It's an ape.
So can you have a linear on the surface of a sphere?
If it's equidistant from the surface, yes. But you can only have it linear
from the surface.
In one dimension. If you're shooting a golf ball or shooting a bullet, yeah, from your aim, and bang, it's going straight forward, straight forward, straight forward, straight forward. If you shot there fast enough, it would just stay. Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's not. It's not.
I'll give you the
they're
actual
not
definition
parallel.
of. I'll give
No,
you the actual definition of parallel, right?
they're not parallel to. They're not parallel to each other. No, because one is going straight and one is going curved.
Well, that's not parallel then, right?
Yeah, so there's no parallel lines. They're just adjacent on it. They're just next to.
Okay, it says.
I've got to shoot, mate.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I appreciate your time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care, mate.
That's cognitive dissonance. Oh yeah. Just for anybody, parallel straight lines are such as are in the same plane and which, being produced ever so far both ways, do not meet. Nothing
Some would
about
say.
on the surface of a sphere there at all. Like,
Some would say axiomatic.
Yeah, not even redefined for the sphere. The only thing that they redefine is parallel planes. Book 11. There's no such thing as a parallel curved line. But thanks for coming. Anybody else, you're free to come in. This is a conversation. The reason I asked this question, and I'm going to be asking it a lot, I'm going to formulate a video about it. But people claim to have been in this arena for so long, and yet they don't even know what they know about north, south, east, and west, the 4 cardinal directions. It's tricky. Well, it's not really tricky. It's simple, but it's just stuff that nobody's ever been asked before. And if you have been asked it before, then there's 3 different options, not 2. And each one of them comes with their own, I don't know, contradictions or reasons for epoche, reasons for doubt.
Reasons for suspending judgment.
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's a healthy way to find out that you may not be correct about what you thought you were correct about. It may be healthy to find out that that thing that you'd never even considered, you find out that there's something that you don't know about something. Because the only geometric answer to that, where perpendicular makes sense, leaves you in a state of aporia, where the only thing you can do is go to epoche. Because I don't think you could ever know it for yourself anyway. That's another one of those things like pi. You can never go to the extremity, all of the extremities. How would you know where those extremities are once faced with perpendicular? Where is the extremity of the north if north, south, east and west are perpendicular? It's a tough one, that, isn't it? How do you know? Epoche is the answer, right?
Yep.
The only answer. Once you realise you've been in an arena for so long without realising that the only real answer about the entire thing is epoche. Or you have to give up Euclidean understanding, geometric understanding of the north, south, east and west. Epoche. Stupid cat.
What are you meant to do? How do you know it? How are you going to know it? You're not going to know that. You can never know that. And are you going to trust somebody else? And especially if that somebody else says you have to give up perpendicular. The answer to the first question is they're not straight lines. And if north, south, east and west aren't straight lines, then you can't have perpendicular. I'm saying chords, I'm saying epoche. It's up to you. Everybody can have their own opinions on this. There are some people that think both of the north, south, east and west are circles. There are other people who just think, like Realm, that just the east and west are circles. But if you have them as circles, you have to admit that you cannot answer that they are perpendicular at right angles to each other. And if
That's
you
where,
do
that's
say,
where the cognis comes from.
yeah, if you do say they are perpendicular, then there are other consequences that come from that. 3 different options, not 2, and none of them, all of them, come with their own contradictions or things that you're never going to. In fact, the only contradiction really is the contradiction that you imagine perpendicular lines aren't perpendicular. That's the contradiction. Knowing that keeping the perpendicularity leaves you with an epoche, right? It leaves you in a position where you have to say that you don't know.
Or ask yourself what you do know. Do you know, or would you look at that graphic and say, I do know that that's perpendicular? Because if you do, there's consequences to that. You saying it's perpendicular, there's consequences to that. Gourds.
Yeah, you'll never get a conversation out of it, Kat, because, I mean, in fact, you can get a conversation out of it. The only conversation you're ever going to get's here. Because all of the other places are all built up into their own camps. They're fighting one camp, they're fighting, 2 circles for me. No, 1 circle, there's only 1 circle. No, there's 2. You're stupid. And that you're not allowed to have the geometric. No circles. Not obsessed with circles. That's the position that you can't have, because I would say that is the logical position. That's the one that you can actually argue upon. You can make valid arguments with the position starting off with logic. You cannot ever start an argument or a debate for a position that you are contradicting yourself. I would say that's probably why a lot of people get upset and offended at us saying these things. Because we are probably the only ones with actual arguments that can be supported. Geometric arguments, right? Because you can't go against geometry and start a geometric argument about shape. It's just not possible. You could try to redefine straight if you wanted to, but I'd say that would be a little bit ridiculous. Cat's fighting for a tangential east-west, I think. A tangential east-west
that's tangential to the actual curved circular east-west? There is no answer, Kat. It's up to you. What do you believe? Or what do you know?
Yeah, that's what we've been saying. There is no answer. Some people can't live in that. I don't know. I don't know what they call it, like bath water or something. Like, yeah, I can't live in that bath water. I can't. I need to know. You need to know what? Know what you can't know? That's not logical. But
Yeah,
there
the
are
only
things you
ones
can
that
know.
claim to know are the ones that claim that they're going against the geometric facts. So
Mhm.
how can you know something when you're starting off with a contradictory position?
Right. They have to throw out the stuff that you can actually have a proof about.
In order to
In
know
order,
something.
yeah,
It
in order
sounds,
to
it's not right, is it? It just doesn't work. It's
no,
not
in order
logical.
to use the quote fingers, know something when they still don't know. There's no way for them to know.
There you go. Katz
No
just said,
proof.
if north is a fixed position. Well, if north is a fixed position, you cannot have north, south, east, and west being perpendicular, Kat. That's your contradiction. The state that you're thinking right now, that's called cognitive dissonance. There's two opposing, competing positions. You can't have both of them. It's one or the other. There's no getting around it. It's been a position that's been faced throughout all of this arena, and I've been trying to point people to it, and it's tough. It's tough to put yourself in that position, and it's tough to try and get yourself to realize a solution to it. And really, you either give up geometric understanding or you have to go with epoche. They're the only answers, really, I think. Epoche is the only answer to all
I think
of
so.
this.
If you want to keep your sanity, right? Otherwise, you see what happens. We've seen it in this little corner of the internet. We'll go crazy.
Godzilla says, I'm okay with not know this one, but I will say, give me NASA's budget and I'll give it my best. There are proofs that you can get gods, and you do not need NASA's budget to get them.
Right.
That's the truth. It depends what you want to know. If you want to know where you are, you should already know that. If you want to know everywhere, you should know that you can't know that. You can never get everywhere and know everywhere. But there are proofs you can find. Reality is reality, so of course there has to be truths within reality. You can't get away from that. The proofs that do exist in reality already. Cat says, lol, for me this is easy, but surely I'm missing something. Perhaps you're not. Please type the word. It's not knowing Godzilla, it's reserving judgment. You don't go with one or the other. If you cannot put your finger on what it is, and it's called epoche. I think SE says it the best, to be honest.
Yeah, because he's Greek. That's why. Unfair advantage.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the rest of us speaking just like English without the proper accents.
But this is, it's one of the words that has been forgotten, lost words.
And I don't see why it should have been. I think it's because what they want to do is they want to set up a false dichotomy. And if you do set up a false dichotomy and forget about the one that there is a no, right? They've done away with the geometric one, so therefore you can do away with epohe. It's either one or the other, false dichotomy. Do you have one circle or two circles? We go, well, they're perpendicular, aren't they? One circle or two. We need to put you in this box or this box. That's the only choices you're going to get given. Nobody's going to tell you about that other one. One or two. Come on, make your mind up. Well, none is the answer.
Yeah, but then what happens, right? It's why we're moving on in April. It's like what happens when the ones and the twos turn on you for saying, no, there's none there. There's none.
Yeah.
The
like,
ones and
come
the
and
twos
join
will
our
turn on you.
argument. Come and join our circular argument. We've been going round and round for years. Just step out of it. Say, no, there's no circles there. You guys are obsessed with circles and balls. Stop it.
Just be okay with it. It's like, deal with what's in front of you. That's it. Can you geometrically, can you determine that perpendiculars exist? Well, if you can, then you could possibly reach epohe. It's just like, yeah, all right, good. We're good with that. What's the rest of this realm we live upon? No freaking clue. But I do know, as an example, level is horizontal. That freaks people out.
It only freaks people out in this arena. Because
I
they're
know.
saying, but you've got to have a circle. Where's your circle going to go?
Where's your circle?
How can level
Where's the
be
circle
horizontal? That doesn't make any sense.
Yep. But you ask anyone who doesn't have the model in their face and in their mind, and they go, why are you even asking me that question? Wait, you have a level in your hand. You asked me to do level, yeah? Yeah, of course it's horizontal. Why are you asking me that? Because of course they know. It's axiomatic. Not in this arena, though.
Yeah, I think I've got another one. Let me check this. Recent. It was quite a bit ago. It leads you into strange things. Here we go. Look at that. You see that one in the chat there now? Check that out. I think that's what Kat's talking about. Do you believe there's a place where there is only south? Where east and west and north just disappear as a direction?
Well, that is what some people would have to believe, right? That's one of the consequences.
I can't put myself in a place where east, west, and north disappear.
I have one objection to that. What about people who live, let's say, colloquially below equator? If they have sun in front of them, they are looking south or north.
Well, it depends what you consider. If the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, then north-south would be perpendicular to that. If that's the way you want to derive north and south. Now, if that's the way you derive north and south, then are north and south perpendicular to the entirety of the line that would be east and west?
No, I'm talking about north and south, because on the below equator, in my understanding, at noon,
What's the
people are-
equator?
this is equator is the line. This is path of the sun. These lines are path of the sun. Equator and Capricorn, Tropic of Capricorn and Tropic of Cancer. These are lines of path of the sun.
Would they be parallel to east-west?
No, they are no, because sun is making circle. But
Okay, we're talking about north, south, east, and west, right?
and east and west, these directions are derived from spots or places where sun rises and sun sets. So this is not path of the sun, but location at which sun rises and sun sets. So we can, of course, make straight line, and we do, between the place where sun rises and sun sets.
Mm-hmm.
There's no problem. But still, path of the sun is not going with that line we draw. Do you agree with that?
But this is just nothing to do with the sun. This is all to do with north, south, east, and west, and your perception of the north, south, east, and west. Because it would be the same as somebody bringing out a compass and imagining it pointing to the center point. But like I say, if I have north, south, east, and west as being perpendicular, you can't actually have that, can you? In your mind.
As universal directions, no. You said cardinal. If you understand cardinal as universal, I would disagree. Because
okay, then can I just take you through the question then, right?
Yes, I
imagine?
I heard that.
Yeah, do you imagine the cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west, are lines at right angles to each other?
I agree with that, but I disagree with the word cardinal understood as universal.
But the north, south, east, and west are known as the cardinal directions. If you type in cardinal directions, it'll come up north, south, east, and west.
It's convention. For me, this is convention.
Yeah.
Because where you are living or where you are standing, you can establish these directions. It doesn't mean that 1,000 kilometers away at the same, let's say, latitude, you are on the same straight line. So it means that that would be not prolongation of the straight line, southeast.
Well, how many of the two straight lines do you imagine are circles?
That's why I'm talking about spots on the horizon, because this is east and west. These are spots.
So that's not a line then?
Direction in which we are looking. You are looking at sunrise, and this is your direction, and you call that direction east or west. So the spot of the sun is establishing this direction.
Okay. So east and west, then, what do you imagine that is then?
This is the direction between or line between sunset and sunrise.
But that's
Or-
that's over there, right? For me, anyway. That's
But-
sort of over there, like say 45 degrees, 45 degrees. But that doesn't affect east and west being perpendicular to north and south for me.
For me also.
So this is why the cog disc comes, I think, with this one question.
I have no cog disk with that because I don't consider these directions as universal. If this word cardinal means here universal, because I'm not sure what in this context cardinal means. If universal, I would disagree.
Well, if you,
Because-
let's say if you were to go east, would that be in a straight line?
If you are going between these two spots, you can go straight line. Yes, you can go from east to west, straight line. Yes, you
No,
can.
but if you were traveling east and you kept traveling east in your mind, would that be a straight line? East, 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 and then next day east, 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 east. Would you be going in a straight line?
You are establishing your west and east at some place where you are. So you always have to check with the sun, because this is your orientation. Let's say point or frame of reference, and we know for a fact that when we can see a sun rising and sun setting at our latitude above, let's say, equator, the sun is not setting straight down or rising straight up, but is going to the side. Do you agree with that?
With the sun? For me, when I'm thinking of north, south, east, and west, I don't think of the sun.
Right. So how you can establish east and west if you are not thinking about the sun?
This is the question. Do you imagine the cardinal directions of north, south, east, and west are lines at right angles to each other? Just question one.
Okay.
And then question two would be, how many of those straight lines do you imagine are circles? I think you imagine one of them as a circle, Paper.
No. So I don't. For me, this is just this straight line east-west is just segment of straight line, and this segment is ending visually at the horizon. It's not going further because I cannot see further. So this is segment, and as the sun, the path of the sun is circle, it means that if I would go like 100 or 200 kilometers or whatever, 1,000 kilometers to the east, because the path of the sun is circle, this line between two my new horizons would be at different angle. That's my understanding of east of
So
or
you can
west.
have two lines being at right angles, but those lines not being parallel.
Uh,
The extension of those lines.
yes, they would at different location they would intersect. Yes,
Mm.
because as I said, this is only segment. So the same problem is with North Star, because I don't rely on compass, but geographically on celestial bodies. So for me, at least, west and east is established by the sun, these two spots, and north is established by North Star as the center of rotation of all stars. So this fixed point is for me, and I would say that not only for me, is called north. So north would be a point, yes.
And do you imagine you can go around?
Yes, of course. Like stars are going around North Star. Yes.
Okay, I don't see.
Aren't they? Stars going around Polaris?
Stars go round in a circle, yeah. But I don't believe that I can go around Polaris.
Why not?
Well, because I don't see myself going around Polaris, to be honest. I don't put it as a center point. It's just a light in the sky. I don't relate it to my being here on the ground. It's just a light in the sky.
Yes, of course, but we can agree that this light in the sky is fixed, not moving.
Not
And
moving in relation to the circular motion of all of the others. That's probably the least moving.
not only in reference to other stars, but also in reference to the ground, to you.
Yeah.
You can see Polaris star from ground that is not moving. So it is fixed not only in relation to other stars, but also to the ground.
Yeah, this is the one circle.
Yes. Which circle are you talking about?
How many of the two straight lines do you imagine are circles?
I don't imagine a straight line as a circle.
But the east-west you do have as a circle going around the center point, don't you?
No. I said this is segment. This is a segment of straight line, not infinite straight line.
How long is the straight line then?
From horizon to horizon. So.
But you can never reach the horizon. You can never put a point there, can you?
Of course. But there is some distance, of course, like this horizon, let's say, at the sea, to make it more simple. If you're at the sea, to get rid of the topographic horizon. This is like few kilometers around-ish, because this is our limit of resolution, angular resolution. So it would be a few kilometers in one direction and a few kilometers in other direction in straight line.
What do you imagine happens after those few kilometers to that straight line?
This nothing. What do you mean? What happens?
Well, you said that you envision east-west as a straight line up to the horizon, if I heard you correctly.
Yes, yes. From
Okay, so my
horizon,
question,
so clarifying, from horizon to horizon at 180 degree, yes.
okay, so what happens after that?
What happens with what?
With that straight line, the east and west straight line, let's say going west, pick a direction. What happens to that straight line after the horizon?
It's going further. The straight line, you can extend that, and from your position, because the sun is setting at that point, and this is your east point, not exactly, because for example, at winter we have shorter days, and in fact you are looking at east-west as a parallel line to real set and rise sun line, because it is, if you are looking at, let's say, if you are looking at north star, and you are at winter where days are short, very short, this line between sunrise and sunset is behind you. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, but you're referring to the sun again. I wasn't referring to the sun.
No, I'm referring to straight line between sunrise and sunset spots. So in winter, this line is behind you because the day is short. So it is not along with you. It's behind you. So in winter, that would be this line would be your west-east line would be parallel to real east-west in winter. Do you agree with that?
I'm not sure what you're saying, the real east-west.
Yeah, because as I said, these spots, for me, east-west is related to the sun. When sun rises, where sun rises is east, and when sunrise sets is west, and the sun is setting at different locations, setting and rising at different locations regarding seasons.
Yes, it does. It does process it the way, in the
Yes, and
conditions. Yeah.
yes. So
Yeah, but what does that have to do with a direction? Let's say you take out a compass, right?
I
And you
am not
set it on the table, and one side points north, the other one points west. Let's say you follow that straight line, which you said you agree with, goes up to the horizon. What happens if you keep following that straight line? Does it go on straight forever?
This line, of course, from your position, you are changing frame of reference. That's the point. I would say that the weak point of this conundrum is that you are changing frame of reference or point of reference, because sun is not going in straight line. Sun is not going along straight line east-west. So if we established as in this picture that east-west is straight line, so I am saying that sun is not going on that straight line. For me, this is obvious. And that's why I was saying about setting and rising, because sun is setting and rising not upward and downward, as you can see. When sun is rising, is going from left, if you are facing south, is going right. Correct?
Going right.
No, I am talking about when you are facing south.
When you're facing south, south would be in
Okay,
front of you.
whatever you when you are facing, let's say, to be more simple, if you are facing sunrise, you are just looking at the sun. Sun is going up, but also is going right. It's not just going upright.
See, I don't relate it to the sun personally,
Why?
because the sun is just something that occurs in the sky.
Yes.
North,
but-
south, east, and west to me are just straight lines. Like I've got a map, right? I only live in the UK. It's a small little country. Right. Yeah. We have what was known as grid references. I've put a picture in the thing there about north and grid north. So as you can see, magnetic north, grid north, and true north are three different. They're classed as straight lines, right? Everybody thinks they're straight lines, but they are known to be different. So everybody, whether they realize it or not, they should realize that north is. You don't even know what north is because there's three different ones. Me personally, I go with the grid north, which is understandable for me because I am a very logical, geometric understanding of stuff, mathematical, right? And in order for me to not employ any contradictions within that understanding, they're just perpendicular. It's no big deal. And I don't mind saying, no, I don't have any circles. None of those are circles. But I do know there are people, who put north at the centre and they make east-west a circle. There are other people who imagine that they live on a ball and they have both north, south and east and west as circles. I know that. That's why this question's there.
I am not talking about directions. I am talking about the path of the sun. I would say still that these directions are derived from reality. And in reality, sun is going in the circle and north star is fixed. And this is geographic north. So that would be for me the first thing that I would consider. Path of the sun, spots where sun is rising and setting, and north star. For me, this is just reality. But if you are talking about grid system is something that people draw on the paper.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I cannot reverse that process. For me, reality is first, and then something we can draw on a piece of paper. For me, it looks like that you prefer to prefer just drawing.
Well, I think about the map. It's mapped out at scale 1:1, right? Now, on those maps that are mapped out scale 1:1, let's say give us a bigger country like America, right? Now in America they have grid lines. They're called northings and eastings. Do they change like you imagine that yours do, or do you imagine those north and south that east and west, that go across the entirety of America? Do you imagine that they're not actually like the east and west that you imagine, or do you imagine they are, and that's built into the map?
They are if we are talking about longitude and
No. This is
No?
grid. No, northings and eastings. They're grid references.
well,
Straight lines.
if this is grid systems and this grid system is referring to measured distance like surveying,
Uh-huh.
then this is okay for me. Grid system. If you are talking about two scale maps, there is this ruler at the map which shows which distance on the map is referring to what distance in reality. So let's say 1 centimeter equals like I don't
Yeah,
know.
a scale of 1 to 50,000. That one that I
Yes.
showed you. Yeah.
So this is for me what two scale map means.
It's not Latin long flat fact. This is grid reference. Latin long. Well, I suppose you could have that if you wanted to, but they're not circles.
You are talking about latitude, longitude lines. That they
Flat
are-
fact is saying that that's what the northings and eastings are.
Yes, they draw them as perpendicular, but they are just drawings on a piece of paper.
It's measured scale 1 to 1, triangulated.
Longitude lines, they are triangulated. I don't think so.
No. Flat fact is saying that the northings and eastings, the grid references on maps, are actually latitude and longitude. We're saying they're not, but then you seem to say that they were. It's not. The UK maps that we have, and as far as I know, in America as well, I don't know. They have northings and eastings, which are grid references. People can check it. I don't in America. I haven't got any maps of America, but
Northings and eastings, yes.
yeah, and they go across the entirety of the American continent as straight
Correct.
lines.
Yes, grid
There you go.
system.
And they are not latitude and longitude. They are a grid, north, south, east, and west, with all of them being, as you would imagine, a grid system.
Okay, so for me this is no problem, and they call this north east. Yes, no, sorry, north south east west. Yes, of course, but it doesn't match reality, I would say.
But
This is
it's
just-
measured. The maps are measured, what scale 1 to 1, and then represented on the map. With grid
Okay,
references.
So grid system called that way, I would say that it match reality, but the name of it, that this is northings and eastings, I would say that it does not match.
Well, they are north, south, east, and west. In the map, the grid, right? That's what it says.
Yes,
You have
I
grid
understand.
north, which is different than true north, which is different than magnetic north. They know magnetic north moves. And true north, what would you suppose that is?
I would say to Polaris, I think, geographic.
And they are perpendicular. So that's what the whole point of this question is, to show people that there are actually 3 choices, and the one that's actually measured and translated into maps is the one that is the actual geometric understanding of perpendicular.
Yes, I agree, but still, in this diagram, true north is not parallel to grid north. So this is my point. So true north, it means for me to Polaris, so geographic. So they are aware that this grid north does not match geographical north.
Okay. So that takes you back to the understanding of the beginning one. I'm guessing it may be. Which do you reckon is north? Which do you imagine in your mind is the north? Not the what do you imagine other people think?
No, for me, as I said at the beginning, for me,
Mhm.
north is direction in which we can see Polaris. This is north.
Okay. And that you know that there are people that have light coming in parallel from that place,
You mean from Polaris?
from any light.
Oh, it doesn't bother me at all.
So yeah, that's you go. I could say that as well. I still have that light in the sky, but it's north. I don't imagine there's any point in time where I can walk north and it turn into south.
Of course, I haven't been there. Also, so to see Polaris just above my head.
But do you imagine if you were to go there, then north would turn into south, the direction that you were walking in?
If north is point in the sky, and this point is called Polaris, so by necessity, when you reach that point, you are just going in the same direction, but this direction from that point is called differently. You are not changing direction. You are changing name of this direction. Just it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't do that.
I can imagine that, but I cannot do that. Yes, I would agree. I wasn't there. So I couldn't see in my own experience that I am going to the star and there is a point where star is just above my head, and when I am going or flying further in the straight line, and this light in the sky is behind my head. I didn't experience that.
No, but the point is, can you imagine?
Yes, I can imagine that that if I am going to some point in space, I can just pass this point and have this point not behind, not in front of me, but behind me. So just like passing by any things on the ground. So I can just pass this light in the sky and leave it behind me. Why not? I can imagine that.
I can't.
But I didn't experience that, of course.
Yeah. I mean, these are the sort of questions that I think most people are going to have
What's
to
going
ask.
on behind us? I don't know. I didn't hear it. I got my headphones on.
Hey,
What's happening?
Hot mic, Kev. I think he might have took his headphones off.
Yeah, I got it. Thanks.
Hot mic.
Yep. Sorry. It's channeling Rob.
For me, these maps are just maps. So most maps which are making this grid they are also trying to make longitude and latitude lines perpendicular, and the first guy who did that was Mercator.
The longitude and latitude lines are always perpendicular.
Since Mercator, not always. I would say that Mercator was the first who did that on big scale.
But you do realize that perpendicular implies straight lines.
Yes, of course, but I am talking about what Mercator did with map. But here is a problem, geographic problem, because if lines are perpendicular, it means that in reality, that if this map depicts reality, it means that sun is going in straight line, not in circles, and it means that Polaris is not a point, but a line, which is not true, of course.
How
That's
do you know?
why because I can see point in the sky, not line.
You can see a light in the sky.
Yes, light, point. All stars are points in the sky, or like points, but not line. For me.
I don't see how Mercator made Polaris a straight line.
No, he didn't, but it assumes if, because north, if geographic north is a straight line, because in fact this is consequence of what he did, because all longitude lines are pointing in different spots because they are parallel. But North Star is just one of them. So only one line is pointing eventually at the North Star, but other parallel to them, they are not pointing. They are missing North Star. So that, for me, this is not matching reality. It means that Mercator's projection is not matching reality. If he is depicting north this grid system as parallel, longitude and latitude lines, because this is his let's say innovation, that he literally drew longitude and latitude lines as perpendicular.
They drew, they mapped the land, obviously, because that's something that you can definitely do. Scale 1:1, measure all elevations, land known, definite, right? They know that, and they've mapped all of that. It's all grid. They know what the scale of it all is. They can draw the whole map. They can know that. Then coming across the water, they come to the problem of,
yes,
how do you measure?
You cannot. That's
Okay.
why I think that, for example, if we are talking about continent like America, it maybe is not very accurate, this this aligning this longitude latitude line with grid system, but on, let's say, whole known world, it is impossible. And oceans are making that measurement
Exactly.
impossible.
Yeah. So the only thing you can do is measure all of the bits of land accurately, actually without looking at any of the lights in the sky. Just measure them, and then make up a map. And the only way you can actually make up the map with the distances of, providing that they're not too far away, little islands, but all of the other ones that you can't measure distances, the only thing you can do is relate it to the lights in the sky. But if there's one thing that we've just been over, things to give you a doubt, is all of the things that you can only be known through visual means by looking through the air. There's no physicality of that, so that should leave you with doubt. But somebody's convinced people that you can make a map from it, which I'd say you can't actually do that because you don't know the distances between the two, and all you're doing is relating them to the lights in the sky.
Yes, I agree. So I would say that if we are talking about land, we are talking, in fact, about pieces of land. And when they are, there is a gap between these lands, and these gaps are oceans. So this part is unmeasurable by surveyors.
Mhm.
So it means that we can only locally make this grid system. You cannot.
That's why these
I would-
questions are there.
Yes,
It's all about imagination.
yes, but I would disagree with that point that your visuals are not telling you the truth because I am, or you are not certain, because Aristotle said differently. And by the way, if our visuals are not telling us the truth accurately, it means that surveying is also
No,
not
surveying
certain.
on the land is set. That's known.
Yes, but it involves visual.
Involves straight line distances, measurable.
Yeah, yes, but still visual. You have to see this measuring rod, etc. So this is visuals. You are always using see sense, sight sense. Sorry, to that.
It's physical measurements. If you mean you can look at a visual measurement on a ruler type thing, right? You've got chains, physical chains. So you mean you're looking at one end and looking at the other end and physically pinning them. If that's what you mean by a measurement being optics, then yeah, I suppose.
Yes, yeah, like this range finding with auto level. So
No,
that would be optical.
measured
No?
physically with chains.
If we change, yes, but I would say that even using this range finding, that would be
Trigonometry.
the same. That would be the same.
Range
the
finding
effect-
wouldn't be like, you wouldn't use range finding for anything like that. You'd actually find the positions and use trigonometry and actual distances, straight line distances measured.
Yes, but I still think that our visuals are good enough to measure. Of course, they are doing measurements, physical measurements, and this is more certain, but it doesn't change our reality. So they are just using perpendiculars and triangles, and that's okay. But it doesn't tell us about longitude and latitude lines, if they are perpendicular in reality or not. for me, it is impossible for them to be perpendicular. I'm not talking about grid system. I'm talking about latitude and longitude lines.
They're always perpendicular. That's one of the points, isn't it? Of course, they mean perpendicular to circles because that's the way you have to imagine them. But they're perpendicular, just like the grid references are. The grids are perpendicular.
Yes, but the problem is that they are depicted as degrees. So why perpendicular lines, let's say latitude lines, are in degrees? So there is distance in degrees between them. So
What do you mean
for me,
distances between degrees?
they are depicted as such. Don't you agree? You are saying that you are at 16 degrees of some latitude or longitude.
Is that not assuming some sort of a circle somewhere?
It has to. Why would you name distance in degrees when you are not assuming a circle? That
You're
would be
not.
nonsense.
The latitude isn't assuming circles, though, is it? Latitude's assuming a sphere.
No. Not
If it's degrees, yeah. Where's the degree come for the latitude?
You can have if north, let's say this longitude north south is longitude. I am right or not? Because I always confuse
the long ones, yeah.
So
no two straight lines can enclose a space.
So latitude, that would be, it is also depicted in degrees. So this is distance.
Yeah, how do you get that latitude as a degree?
From measuring an angle.
From where?
From Polaris.
No, Polaris is the center north point. Those degrees would be in between your longitude lines, wouldn't they? How do you get the progressively circles going outwards to a degree mark?
So that would be with path of the sun, I would say. The first let's say lines, there are equator and tropics. So, and they were considered as circles. So they are in fact latitude lines. And they have to be circles because sun is making circle.
Is a line a circle? Or should they be called latitude circles? Because latitude lines is a bit deceiving, isn't it?
Yes, that would be yes. So
but then again, they are considered as perpendicular. So the lines would be justified in that sense, but not justified in the sense that you wanted to turn them into circles.
I'm just talking about circle, which is depicted somehow and for some reasons on the piece of paper as straight line. So we should ask Mercator, he was the first, I think he was the first who did that, to depict these circles as straight lines. I don't know. I read something very briefly, I think in Britannica or somewhere else, that he just did that because it was more easy to for navigators to draw lines on the map. Just it. But still, these lines, they should not be straight lines if they are like tropics and equator, because they are related with the path of the sun.
Do you think it's a bit of a conspiracy then?
I don't know. I don't know. For me, no. I just know for a fact that sun is going in circles, like stars. For me, this is established fact. And because these tropics and equator are circles, and they are also on given latitudes. So for me, it means
Given.
that yes, they are given or drawn, let's say. So you can draw on the map where this latitude where the sun is on tropic, one tropic, another. So on to that tropics, it is assigned some latitude. Also for equator. So, and they are circles, of course, because it is path of the sun. And path of the sun is circle, which is provable.
Provable.
Yes, it's common notion. As I said, sun is rising and setting not upright and downward, straight, but is going to the side. So it means that it is not going in straight line. And of course, I have seen some footage, let's say, from Norway. There are just cities, towns where people can experience midnight sun, so-called midnight sun. So sun is going around 24 hours. So if it is going around 24 hours, it means that it's making circle. For me, this is common notion, and I cannot go against that.
I have epoche, whereas I just go with the straight lines, the geometric understanding. I can't counter that personally.
I don't counter perpendicularity. I counter only how people name these lines. Because for me, if you have conundrum with this Polaris, that if we are going to Polaris and then we are going north, and when we reach this Polaris and we have behind us this Polaris, we are going south. So this is just a name. This line is the same straight line, it's just named differently. For me, this is not a problem. For me, problem is when geometry itself or drawing map is more important than visual reality. So for me, that would be a problem. So If you want epoche, then okay for me, but still if I have on one side what people draw on the piece of paper and reality, like for example Polaris and Midnight Sun, I'm choosing visual reality.
Okay, so if we were to go over those things again, north, south, east, and west, would you put either of them into circles, or would you keep them as straight lines?
Segments of straight lines, segments.
Okay.
So because you cannot see beyond horizon, so this is your limit of vision. So for me, this is, directions are visual directions. So if you cannot see, you can prolong this line, of course, as you want, but from your position, but it wouldn't give you anything useful to know.
Okay, so let's say you start off and you head east from one horizon to the other. Now, when you get to that other horizon, when you look east from that horizon and look back west, would the west be where you came from? And would east be further along that straight line or in a different direction?
Would be if you go a couple of kilometers, let's say big distance, let's say 1,000 kilometers. So this sun would be setting at different angle, let's say. And I know that because sun is setting not rising, not upright or downward, is going to the right. If I am looking at sunrise and sunset, it's going right. It means it's curving. So it means it indicates direction in which this sunset or sunrise would go. For me, this is very simple.
So it is curving.
Path of the sun, but not line from your location. You are establishing at location this line. You are not moving. You are not establishing this line while moving.
But if you move from east to west, or from west to east, then you take a new heading. What should have been west, where you came from, isn't going to be west again, is it? From your new position.
Yes, it means, of course, that if you are going, this is simple. If you are trying to go with the sun, or at, let's say, at the same speed, you will go along with the sun. It means you will go on the circle because you are going with the sun. Let's say that you are chasing setting sun.
Okay, in which case you would imagine that the east-west is actually a circle.
No. The path of the sun is circle. This direction is not unique. That's why that was my first objection, that these cardinal directions, for me, they are not cardinal or universal. They are not. And they are not because sun is showing us that they cannot be, because sun is going in curved path. It's not going in straight line. So if the west and east is described with the spots of the sun rising and sun setting. So it has to change if the sun is making circles. And I assume and I know that sun is making circles. So it cannot be other way for me. Within reality, I think. That's my position.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I know. I've got that. Sort of giving me some sort of an insight into, because I don't know. It's sort of giving me an idea how people can have an idea of a circle, but straight lines. A circle in straight lines. It's a dornagon.
I that's why I said this is a segment. If you want other way, that would be the path of the sun would be a circle, of course. Polaris star would be the center of this circle geographically. So you are somewhere, let's say between Polaris and the sun, in the middle of this circle somewhere. And just your north is just from your position to Polaris, prolonged behind you to the south. And this east-west would be a chord line, just chord line. Straight, of course, and perpendicular to north south line. But that would be chord, this east-west. Surely perpendicular, but only this segment where your horizon enables you to see. Just it for me.
Mm-hmm. Like the dornagon.
Maybe whatever, but still you have. That's why I'm talking rather about chord line, because the path of the sun is circle. So this this line would be inside.
Yeah, the dornagon.
Like chord.
Yeah.
Like chord line.
Yeah, like the dornagon there.
You can depict that. Yes, yes.
The straight lines are chords within the dornagon.
Segments, yes, segments, yes. Like, for example, if you have a square, you have segments of straight lines. So, no problem for me. Not infinite straight lines, just segments. You can make perpendicular with segments. It not necessarily means that this line, one of them, has to be infinite distance or length. It's still perpendicular. So line can be perpendicular to segment of the line.
Can you see my geometric problem though, right? Well, as I say, it's not a geometric problem. To me, it's not a geometric problem. But can you see the geometric problem that this causes?
Yes, I can see that. I cannot see any problem here for me. So can you explain what problem should I have?
Well, I think you imagine it's actually a circle. This east and west. East and west isn't the same direction.
No, I didn't say that this is a circle. I
No,
didn't say that.
I know, but east and west are not the same directions as depicted by the Dornagon.
In different location, it is not the same. From your position where you are, you can establish a straight line. Of course, between sunrise and sunset, you can draw a straight line. So this is what I call chord line along the circle, and the circle is not direction but just path of the sun. So you have just only 2 points in that circle. This point is called sunrise. This is 1 point, and other point is sunset, and you are just in the middle. You're always in the middle between sunrise and sunset.
Yeah, but if you head north, you will sometime end up heading south. If you head south on your model, you would never go back to going north again.
Yeah, yes, because you are just going away from Polaris. So going away from Polaris, yes, it doesn't. It cannot change into north again.
Okay, so
Because
of these directions, the only, well, south would be every direction, and north would eventually turn into south, and east and west are constantly changing.
With your location, yes, south. Yes, that would be, generally speaking, that would be a circle. But
with me, I have them as cardinal directions. That means they're always the same.
That's why I was talking about segment only, because what you see, you are establishing position or position of the sun and position of yourself. So you're in the middle between sunrise and sunset, and this is your indicator where south and where east and west is. So this is this line, but it doesn't say necessarily that this line is infinite length, because this is chord line. So this is just limited line to this chord, let's say. If you move, if you change your position, let's say like 1,000 kilometers, you will have to draw a different chord line on that circle. Yes, for me, this is a consequence of reality of the sun, because of
the
course,
circle that you've got.
As I said, I am establishing west and east with sun. For me, this is direction from reality, and north is direction from reality also to Polaris. So I can see Polaris, and I can point out this star and say that I am pointing in that direction. It means I am pointing north. So I can make imaginary line from me to Polaris. So this is line to north. And this is straight line, of course. For me, this is just it. So, and against it, there are people drawing something on paper. So I would choose rather path of the sun. to establish east and west than perpendicularity. Because your argument is that it is established by some people that these are cardinal directions, and they are as such drawn on paper. So this is your argument. For me, this is
I
too
wouldn't
weak
say it's
argument.
an argument. It's just a few questions. Do you imagine the questions are arguments?
But in this question, this first question is thesis. This is question with thesis, because there is word cardinal there. So it is assumed that the directions are cardinal or universal. It means that these straight lines can be prolonged into infinite distance, and that would be still north and still south, etc. So I would, that's why I disagree with that word cardinal.
Okay.
Who established that these directions are cardinal or universal?
I
Cardinal-
got that from the north, south, east, and west. They're known as the cardinal directions. Do you think they should be called something else?
No, but not cardinal. But in what meaning cardinal?
Just as that's what they're known as. Do you? They're the cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west.
Yes, of course. If you,
As known by everybody. It's just literally a question about first off, do you imagine they're joined by straight lines? Now, Blue Marble Science said that they're not. They're just directions. There is no straight line there.
for me, it is straight line, but just segment. If we are talking about east-west. Because at this location, when you can establish east-west, this is your location from horizon to horizon. There is no problem. But problem is when you are moving. So my assertion would be that, let's say, a different continent, let's say if you are in UK and Kevin is in America, these east-west directions wouldn't be this local directions from your own perspective wouldn't be parallel.
See, in the UK, right, what we can do is we can line the map up along the grid lines, and you can point it at north, and you can know that east and west are along the grid lines for that particular position. You can align that up on the compass wherever you are with those grid lines.
Yes, well, but this is not, I would say this is not an argument, because if north is point and you are making circles, so your compass
I'm
also
not making circles.
But if you were making circle or part of the circle.
Well, what about if we're just making straight lines that are perpendicular to each other?
Yes, on the grid system, yes. But I'm saying about your location. If you are changing location, your compass will always be with agreement with your map. Why not? in both scenarios. So this cannot be an argument here.
It, like, say you're going all the way across America and you're doing the same sort of thing. Grid lines that are perpendicular, and you go from one side to the other, and you line your compass up along the grid line. Are you saying that at some point east and west wouldn't be in the position that they should be?
If this grid line is straight line along the whole continent, let's say, that would be some discrepancy. So, and I think there is some, because there is a problem allegedly with compass. So for me, this is something that I don't really know, because they say that this compass north is different, and this magnetic north is changing somehow. So for me, this is some kind of maybe even conspiracy here to cover something that doesn't match reality. I don't know.
But the maps are measured 1-to-1, right, and scaled. Or do you think the conspiracy is within the actual maps?
Rather with maps, yes. What is how to match longitude lines and latitude lines with grid system on very small scale, let's say, like as you said, UK. This is not a problem, but at large scale, it is problem, I think. I am not a cartographer, so I am not very much into that. But for me, there are some things that I can compare to reality. So that's why I am talking about star, North Star, and the path of the sun. For me, this is what I see. And I think that for ancient people, it was indicator of directions, real celestial bodies, and like sun and North Star, not grid system.
Flat Fact says they make little adjustments all the time that the public's not aware of. How do you know that? Flat Fact.
I don't know. I don't know. This is not a topic widely spoken of. So, so I don't think so. That this is in interest of public. Yeah.
They can't make adjustments to my map.
Yes, your map is just drawn, so
They can't make adjustments to the compass either.
Of course, they cannot. They cannot. Yes.
So I'm not so sure how they would make little adjustments. And I'm not too sure how Flat Fact did know. Must be stepping yourself outside the public.
What I know that is that maps are, if they are local maps, this is okay, but they call them this whole world map. They call them projections. So this is Mercator map. This is in fact projection. So, and,
yeah, but my map, right? This is a fact for you. All maps, to scale maps, are flat. and flat surfaces, planar surfaces, are developable. The thing about developable and non-developable surfaces, that a non-developable surface cannot be expressed on a flat map without distortion.
Yes, but still, circle is plane. So for me, this is not a problem.
But
Oh.
east and west being straight lines on a map means
Yes.
that they're not circles or parts of arcs.
Yes. So I say yes. It doesn't match. For me, it doesn't match reality. This not perpendicular, because this prolongation of these lines into infinity, this does not match reality for me. That's why I object with this name cardinal directions. Yeah, they are directions, but I would not name them cardinal, because if, according to my opinion, when you are changing location, like from UK to America, you are, according to motion of the sun, you are on the different part of this, let's say, circle. So it is not cardinal for me.
Mhm. This is why I got the question. Still stands as an interesting question. It's given us 3 hours.
Yes, but I still, with this cardinal, that would be okay. But this is assumption that these directions are cardinal. That's why that was my question. Who established that these directions are cardinal or universal?
That's what
Because
they were called. That's all I've got.
Yes, so they call them. But this is, for me, as a proof of reality, it cannot stand. Because someone named something like that. This is very similar to this Saint Anselm's ontological proof, because if we name something God, that means that we have to think about this as such, because we named something like that. So I would say it doesn't work that way. So I
Doesn't work
disagree
with perpendiculars then.
With cardinal directions. No, I am not denying perpendiculars. I am denying cardinal directions. This name, I disagree with that, because upon this, this argument is, or this question and following questions are based on this statement that these directions are cardinal, and I disagree with that. For me, they are not cardinal.
Okay, so on a map, when we have northings and eastings on the grid reference and we put our compasses on it, we line it up, which ones would you be not happy with? Would it be like all of the norths wouldn't be actually north? They couldn't be north, right? They couldn't, in your eyes.
That would be perfectly okay, because if you are in UK and you have map of UK and you are looking north from your location in UK, it is okay. And you are, if you are in America, you are not looking at map of UK in America, you are looking at map of America. So you cannot transfer that. You have literally have to check if you are going with this grid system in straight line, and when this, let's say, your compass or even North Star would be not perpendicular to your previous position. I think that this is impossible to do. This is like surveying in 1,000 kilometers. So
Okay, well,
impossible.
another geometric one, right? Let's go. You're on two different coasts of America, as far apart as you can get, east-west. Now, you're both going to travel perpendicular, straight, north, according to the map that you've got. Would you imagine that those two people eventually would meet up?
No. No.
Even though they were traveling north? Both of them?
If they would travel north, they would, but they...
And at least up until north turned into south.
If you are saying geographical north is a point, so if they are pointing their maps at the star, it means they are pointing at what point from two different positions. It means
one from
that
each coast of America.
Yes, so it means that they are literally creating like triangle.
Okay, so you do think that they would meet up?
No, I am not from. Of course, I am not. Yes, if they can fly, but
Yeah.
but I am rather talking about this on the ground. So that do not involve vertical. So
No, it doesn't.
like
No, north doesn't involve vertical. We're on a horizontal plane here constantly,
Yes,
aren't we? As we're imagining this. Yeah.
I'm saying about this zenith of North Star. So they will meet somewhere on the ground, of course, but they will have North Star just above their heads, and this is a point. So they are not their north seas on the maps are not parallel.
But if they're if you've got northerns and easterns, and that goes all the way from west coast to the east coast of America, so that would be one straight line, an easting.
Yeah.
And you would have one person on one coast and one person on the other coast. Now they're both on that same eastings line, which I presume, as they put their compass on the map, north is where north is, and then east would be along that line that they're on, both of them.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
now so they're both, so that would be 290 degrees, wouldn't it? As they're heading north from their east-west line, perpendicular. But you imagine that those two people would meet up eventually. That's what we're talking about here, the consequences of this understanding of perpendicular, these two straight lines, relationship to each other.
I am not changing understanding of perpendicularity. I am changing understanding of north. Or not changing. I'm just saying that north is point in the sky. So, or let's say direction on the ground, that would be this so-called GP of the star, whatever.
I thought you were doing it to the sun though, east-west to the sun.
No, what did I do with east-west?
Your east and west was governed by the sun. It was segments earlier.
This is yes, this is east-west is for me 2 points, line between 2 points between sunrise and sunset.
Okay, and then you've got north south as being a light in the sky, or sorry, towards north being towards the light in the sky.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I said at the beginning, do you imagine the cardinal directions of north, south, and east and west are at right angles to each other? You've got one light in the sky related to the other light in the sky.
Yes, and that's why it is still perpendicular, but this is not cardinal. But this is more my only objection here, that these directions are not cardinal. I disagree with that. I disagree with that statement that these directions are cardinal. Just it. I am not denying perpendicularity. I am denying universality of this line, these lines.
Which is why I think this question's pretty good. These two questions. And thank you very much, Godzilla. Super chat. Thank you. Very much appreciated. He says, great talk tonight. Epohe is only true if you assume east-west is perpendicular. I think only needed if you assume east-west is perpendicular. I always thought of them as circular direction, but yeah, on a map, it becomes very perplexing.
I partially agree with Godzilla, partially, because I don't assume that direction east-west is circle. No, it is not, because this is line between 2 points. I said it many times. Sunset, sunrise. These are points, and I am drawing, let's say, line between 2 points. I am not talking about path of the sun here. But I'm naming that line. That would be chord line on that path of the sun.
So that would mean that line changes.
No,
as the sun.
In your location, it doesn't. It means that sun is not going along east-west line, because sun is not going in straight line. So I can say that sun is not going along east-west. That I can say.
Yeah, but now I'm confused because, correct me if I'm wrong, you said east-west to you is where the sun rises and where the sun sets. You draw a line.
Yeah, between these 2 points.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you just said that the sun does not travel in a straight path.
Yep, of course.
So you don't imagine a straight line then, east-west.
Yes, of course.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yes,
okay.
The path of the sun is real, but this line between sunrise and sunset is imaginary. The same imaginary line is to the north, or east. So there are no lines in reality drawn as these. Only people just can draw some lines on a piece of paper or imagine that they are there. They can be useful, but there are no real physical lines between sunset and sunrise and sunset. But you can draw a straight line, and I'm drawing, and I can see that line as being a chord line on the path of the sun, which is circular. This is what I can imagine, how it would work in reality.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I have the answer. I'm just trying to figure out then how do you the grid, right, is perpendicular. How do you how do you see one as opposed to the other?
Um, Grid system, if it is not really long altitude longitude lines, so it is just grid system with taken from measurements. But if it is, I would say that on large scale it has to be distortion. On small scale is maybe negligible distortion. I don't know. I wasn't checking that thing about cartography and mapping, so I
You're
I
not
don't know.
bringing into question the maps, are you? The two scale maps.
I'm not talking about mapping as mapping. It means that if you have map, for example, on your wall, I assume that what they draw these points or lines or whatever, these lands, places, they are correctly in that place. They are to scale. But this latitude lines and longitude lines on that map,
They don't have them in the UK.
if they don't have, so there is no problem. So problem solved.
But the grid lines are northings and eastings.
Okay. So we have one problem solved here. That because I was talking about discrepancy between longitude and altitude lines as northings and eastings, because that would be mismatch for me. But if they are not there, so problem is solved. So this is just a name. For me, this is just a name.
They are perpendicular, though.
Yes, on the map, yes.
Straight lines.
Straight lines on the map, yeah. For me, this is no problem. This is just drawing lines. But it doesn't mean that that's why I have only one objection about this one word, cardinal. If someone is saying that they are cardinal, the burden of proof is on that person who asserts that these directions are cardinal. I would say not. They are not. According to my knowledge about visual world.
Would that mean that not all of the northings are north, pointing north, and not all of the eastings are pointing east, west? Is that what you mean by your problem with them being cardinal on the map?
My problem is that this map of UK, for example, as example, is just map of UK. But if you would try to make it bigger, like for example, let's say map of Eurasia or Eurasia. So both.
What about
Europe
America? Let's go to
Asia.
America, because America have the same northings and eastings grids. I think we have been there before, though, haven't we? We did go there. Do that.
Yes, but we have even bigger land like this Eurasia. So this is very let's say wide from let's say from France to China. This is very big. I would say it is much bigger in
Well,
length.
let's say all of the maps that are done in all of the countries from one place to the other are also mapped like northings and eastings. Or are you saying that they're not going to be within that grid?
Not in one. It means that these grids separately they work, but you cannot just join them together. I would say
Well, you
that
can
that
in
is-
America and you can in the UK because we get them all. You know, they'll come at different scales for different particular areas, and they are all in a grid system. That's the idea of mapping.
Okay, but this grid is working, for example, for America only, let's say.
Yeah,
But
northings and eastern. I bet Canada has them the same as well.
I would say that it would show some discrepancy between
That'd be good then.
longitude and altitude lines and grid system. That would be already mismatch. I would say that.
Yeah, because they just draw the line, latitude and longitude on afterwards, don't they? That's what I was saying. They actually map the land
Yes.
to reality scale 1-to-1, but they
Yes.
somehow they call these lines northings and eastings, and they are perpendicular to each other, just like the longitude and latitude. And
Yes.
the longitude and latitude lines are meant to be north, south, east, and west also.
Yes. So this is problem
Mm-hmm.
in general meaning, because people
That's the
just
idea.
associate terminology, so they think that
That's the
this
idea of
means
this question. You know, see the beauty of it now, right? Because people do imagine that longitude and latitude are north and south and east and west, and people do imagine that east and west is a circle, and some people imagine that north and south is a circle also. Like you can go along one of them and turn back to the same point that you were at. Some people imagine you can do that going east, and some people imagine you can do that going north, south. Like east, you could carry on going east. I think some people think you could carry on going in one direction as long as it's east and end up back at the same place. Some people believe you could go north to go south, to go north to finish off where you were. Other people believe you wouldn't. You go north to go south forever. I think. I don't know. There has to be some sort of epoche involved in south. Because what direction is south?
Opposite to north. In my, let's say, scenario, my assertion is that if you are going, for example, you have grid system in UK, and you have east-west, and you are at some latitude, so you have, for example, North Star at, I don't know, 40 degree or whatever it is. So if you would go in really straight, dead straight line to west, the star will be lower. You will not maintain the same latitude. Simple. That's, for me, this is obvious.
Star would be lower.
Yeah, star would be dropping, because you would go away from the star. Yes, that's my assertion. But I think that this is impossible to do, because you have just physically go there and check that you are going in dead straight line, which is rather impossible to do. Maybe there is some way to do that. I don't know. But if theoretically, if you can do that, my assertion, oh, yes, proposition, let's say, is that the star would be dropping. Okay, now I have to drop to bed.
Okay. Thank you very
Thank you very much. Mom, I have hope that I didn't upset anyone here.
I don't know. This is the whole point of it is to
But to have conversations,
Yeah.
different points of view, and yes, and many people can, I think, may learn. I am learning from discussions because I have to notice things that I didn't notice before, and somehow I have to rephrase my argument to objections. So this is very, very good.
jolly good.
And sometimes there are some, let's say, from my perspective, there are some clicks. So there are many conversations here, and someday, after let's say 1 week or 2 weeks, something is clicking in my head, and I can notice something that I didn't notice back 2 weeks ago. So even if at first glance it is not seemingly fruitable, but still I think that it will be in the future. So I very like that kind of conversations, and we can converse without even if we are disagreeing, we don't need to shout at each other, etc. So I am very glad.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I've got epohe to help me. I'm okay. It's just a discussion about what everybody imagines. Everybody can imagine whatever they want. Talking about it's the important part.
Okay, good night.
Okay, thank you very much. That lasted a little bit longer than I thought. Realm disappeared. Didn't expect Paper to take it up though. Anybody else see the connection? I know Buster did.
Yeah.
Did you see a Dornagon there, Essie? I did. It was pretty eye-opening, to be honest.
I thought the first thing I thought of was Donegal.
Yeah.
From spot to spot, quote unquote. I mean, for me anyway.
Yeah. The circle that isn't a circle, it's straight lines.
Yeah.
Series.
Yeah,
of
that was
straight
kind
lines.
of Donagonish there. But then then it curved also.
Very Donagonish.
Yeah.
A series of connected points. It changes your move. That's the whole idea of it, though. Straight lines. Perpendicular to each other. And I think most people aren't ready for the fact. It's why I call it a cog-dis test. Because you're not ready for the fact that you want to bend a straight line. Conceptually, right, at least. It is just an imaginary idea that you have in the first place. And then you have to face the fact, well, what's north? What's south? What do I think it is? I guess I have the advantage of just not having any money, not really being able to travel and living in a small place in the UK. I don't have a conception of north, south, east and west being anything other than straight lines. Because, like, if you just take any of those two grid lines that are northings, you've got to imagine that there's 290 degrees there at the bottom. And if you keep travelling in a straight line, you're going to eventually meet up. That's got to be a geometric conundrum, right?
Yeah.
Hands up who thought of that before.
When it still live, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should we end it? I think it's about time. It's 11:30.
It's late, I
It's
guess.
free for all Friday. That's been quite interesting. It's been a good night. I guess it's tough to work all of these sort of things out.
Yeah.
I think
I would
Paper
say
did
so.
better than anybody else would have been.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was very cordial.
Just shows the importance of geometry, though, right? And the geometric understanding.
It is, I must admit, a perplexing thing. When does east become west? When does north become south? I'm like you, I can't imagine that.
Don't think east ever does become west. It's only north that becomes south.
Even that, how does that happen?
I don't know. I don't know how it occurs on either map. So if I can't see it occurring, that's why I consider north, south, east, and west to be perpendicular. There's at least you can employ epoche with that, right? And then leave the rest to like, well, I don't know. But if you take on either one of the other maps, then you have to have north becoming south. You have to have a problem with the cardinal directions. That's why I called them cardinal directions. Because you can have an objection to them being called cardinal directions, but that means that you've got to make north turn into south. So it can't be a cardinal direction, can it? If north turns into south.
Yeah, if you don't have a cardinal direction, north could be anywhere.
North could turn into south.
Yep.
And south could be every direction. Providing you're stood in one place, south is every direction. You can see why people would have a problem with the cardinal directions at that point. But whether you imagine that or not is up to you. Perhaps you don't even know that you imagine it already. I know a lot of people, so many billions at least I've been told, they think that going east you can end up at the same place, and north turns into south, which turns into north, which turns into south, endlessly, forever. I don't.
It all depends what you're set up on, what you imagine you're set up on.
Depends how many straight lines you want to turn into circles.
Well, you have to turn them into circles if you imagine a certain thing. It's the only way.
If anybody wants to come in to Discord and have a chat, you know where we are. Gonna end up with Buster song now. Dead Straight Lines. Meet you again on Monday, unless we do something over the weekend. See you then. Model Affliction Monday.
Looking out on the shore, I found balance and so much more. It's getting clearer all the time. All we see are all these dead straight lines. And show me what's in reality, and I won't compromise between the truth and lies. This is where I make my stand. Please don't take me to your la la land. It's all about geometry. All we see is horizontally. Show me what's in reality, and I won't compromise between the truth and lies. Show me what's in reality, and I won't compromise between the truth and lies. Reality is all I see. I don't need your fantasy. I've had enough of sophistry. I'll find my own philosophy. Reality is all I see. I don't need your fantasy. I've had enough of sophistry. I'll find my own philosophy, and you can't bend reality into what you think your car deceives. Something's happening to me. Don't remind me of how things used to be. We don't need no sycophants.